Hey everyone, this is the CEO Ask Me Anything for new hires in the Asia Pacific region. And Jay, thanks for the first question. Want to verbalize it?
Yeah, no worries. Hey everyone. Yeah, so just wanted to get your perspective since this is an APAC call. Is it a growth area for customers? What's sort of unique for APAC customers apart from the obvious sort of time zone and location aspects?
Yeah, thanks. I think what's interesting in APAC is that we got enormous GitLab usage, but it's a small. So the usage in APAC in many countries is higher than anywhere else, and it's smallest revenue for us. So there's the biggest kind of opportunity there if you look at the discrepancy between usage and revenue. Another thing is that I think the difference between countries in that region, if you compare them to Americas and Europe, is the biggest. Like, I don't know, if you look at China versus Japan, or in India versus the differences between different countries are just enormous. It's almost like in some aspects it should have been multiple regions, but because of the revenue size we make it into one. But it's stark differences between the countries.
Yeah, thank you.
Jay? Might be mispronouncing the next name. Suhei, or
yes.
How do I pronounce that?
Yeah, nice to meet you again. I'm Shu from Japan. Actually, yeah, sorry for the very private question for Super Mario, but I'm really glad about the logo of GitLab is from Super Mario. So could you tell me about your history with Super Mario?
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, you can ask any questions. It's an ask me anything. It's not an answer me anything, but this one, I'm glad you asked. I'm happy to answer. So the earliest GitLab logo was, according to some people, it looked more like a fox. And according to some other people, it looked more like a raccoon. Then we made a refresh of the logo. And we're like, we got to solve this conundrum. What is it? And then we found out that there's a beautiful Japanese word, tanuki, that means raccoon dog. But like, this solves it. We don't have to choose. And also, it's a lot more fun than saying you have a fox logo like everyone else. So that's why our GitLab logo is a tanuki. And the tanuki is also in the Super Mario games, the thing that gives Super Mario amazing abilities, ability to fly. So it's a great, just like we want developers to be more effective and enable them, it's something that Super Mario uses to power up. So we want GitLab as a DevOps platform to be the power up for developer security and operations people. Thanks for the question, PJ.
Hey, am I on mute? No, I'm not even on mute, Sid. I'm very organized. How are you doing?
Loud and clear, you're coming through.
Beautiful. Okay, I'll dial that one down, but you can probably hear me anyway. I'm working in public sector in Australia, and we've got quite a lot of business there, and it's going really solidly. What I'm looking for is how we're going to deliver more of an enterprise, because public sector and enterprise are very similar, more of an enterprise enablement capability to our customers beyond kind of handbook and self-serve. I'm looking for something where we help the customers get to a DevOps bootcamp, a DevOps center of competence, and then competence, and then a DevOps center of excellence. And I really think there's massive value in that, in making the product more sticky in those clients and helping those clients get better value out of it. So I wonder if there's initiatives going on around that.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Things that come to mind for me is the certifications, the DevOps certifications that we're investing in, GitLab Dedicated, and looking at how we can make sure our support meets the needs of our largest customers. But I would say if you need something, like, advocate for it, make a case. find other people that have the same needs, maybe in other regions. And I think you're right. If you look at the purpose of the company, I think it's very much aligned to what you're talking about. We increase people's lifetime earnings potential through training, access to opportunities in the DevOps platform. You're talking about training. It's the first thing here.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, we're pushing some initiatives on. We'll keep going.
Awesome. And if you get stuck and you think it's unfairly so, then feel free to reach out to me directly.
No, everyone's been super helpful.
Great. Roel, do you want to verbalize your question?
Yeah, next up is me. So hi, Sid, thank you for joining us. It's probably pretty late for you. Yeah, one of the, I had two questions, but I'll ask the first one. What are the biggest risks for GitLab as a company moving forward? It's probably one of my questions.
Thanks for that. Our biggest risks are disclosed in our S1 filing of that date. And there's also a web page you can find if you Google GitLab biggest risks. And it has a lot of different risks. I think what's top of mind for me is that like we're growing revenue 75% year over year. We got to make sure the organization keeps up with that. If you go that fast, roles change rapidly in the matter of years. Your roles look very different, and got to make sure that people get great training, that we hire and retain the right people, that we invest in education, that we do great talent assessments, that we grow our benches. So that's what top of mind. There's many different risks to the company, but I think that's one I'm very focused on today and in general.
Thank you. I'll look at that link as well.
And you are very kind, but it's 5:38 p.m. in San Francisco, so it's still before 6 o'clock.
Okay. So, yeah.
All of you frequently have meetings that require a lot more accommodation. And I appreciate that. And time zones are the bane of my existence, probably yours too. In the company setting, I wish we could make it easier, but I appreciate all the mornings you get up early and the nights you stay up late.
Hi, Sid. My name is Karen from Sydney. I just joined as a cell. I am quite interested in your double GDP project because I'm noticing a lot of customers needing to be accountable for sustainability going forward. And I was wondering how we could maybe incorporate that in a strategic sales motion where we could have some kind of fireside chat or some kind of asset that we can leverage in our customer conversations. It's obviously very prevalent in banking and finance because it's becoming regulated. So I was just wondering if you mind chatting about what you're doing in other regions in this regard.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Thanks.
I think, well, double GDP is a very near and dear to my heart. It's not a GitLab project per se. I'm doing it in the individual capacity. I think what's in the pipeline regarding GitLab is an ESG report. The SEC requires all public companies to file on their environmental and social and governance things. So that's something you can expect from the company. Another thing we are working on is the GitLab Foundation. It's funded with about 2% of our outstanding stock. So that's a significant effort, and we found a CEO for that. We'll start in September. So I'm very excited about that.
That's great.
There's a Google Doc accessible to GitLab team members about that, which I'll link in the chat and in the.
Thank you. Speaking of, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I get specifically one of our customers, Lendlease, is a global company looking at, they're about 25 years ahead of the rest of the market here in Sydney, and they've got a huge initiative for sustainability with Google, using Google as a platform. And I was wondering if you have any direct engagement with Google on sustainability matters.
I don't.
Okay.
And I think as a company, we have a page about our what we do in carbon wise. So,
Thank you for sharing, by the way.
yeah, you're welcome. If you Google GitLab environmental sustainability, you'll find details on our efforts there. And I, in an individual capacity, I led one of the rounds in Swift Solar. They're making perovskite solar panels that can be one or two orders of magnitude more affordable, lighter. They're flexible and they're very high efficiency.
I mean, because obviously AI is creeping into the space, and with our investment in observability, I was wondering if we would look at doing some interesting use cases. Like, for example, Amazon has some great use cases around how they intelligently have agriculture and farming sort of sensors that get collected and metadata that's used for sustainable means. So I was just wondering if, I know it's a long shot, I know it's a bit out of the box, but would we ever get into specific sustainability use cases derived from native capability on the platform?
Yeah, I think that like every company has to become a software company. So getting good at that enables you to do more. And if we have to be more intelligent with the resources we have, automation is a way to do that. We can consider like highlighting the people doing great things for the environment with GitLab, which it sounds like it's also what Amazon's doing. We don't have a verticalized strategy. Like we're not making features for certain sectors, like the agri-tech sector or something like that. We do invest in model ops and making it easier to use AI in your application if you're developing your app with GitLab.
Thank you. That makes sense. I appreciate you answering.
Appreciate the question. So,
so one more question from me. I went through the AMA and I saw that there was a link for the recommended leadership books that you shared last time. But my guess is you chose to become CEO before reading some of the books at least. I would say I wanted to ask whether my guess is right and what are the key takeaways from your experience being CEO of a fast-growing company?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think I read high output management before becoming a CEO. Not sure about the hard thing about hard things, but might have aligned with it. They were inspirational. And then key takeaways at a fast-growing company. I think the hard thing about fast growth is that it's unnatural. Like the natural thing is to slow down. So it requires kind of constant ambition of the entire company to stretch and go for something. When we were doing Y Combinator, we set the ambition to become a public company in a certain timeline. And that really helped because it was never about like, hey, what should our goal be? But it was always about, okay, that's a really tough goal. How we're going to do this? And I think that's an important as a CEO of a fast-growing startup. Basically, you have 3 roles. You should make sure there's enough money, so like fundraising, investor relations. The other thing is you should set the correct strategy and make sure everyone's aware of it, including like, hey, what do we want to achieve? Like how high do we have to jump as a company? And the third is like recruiting a team that can achieve that. So making sure you coach your reports and hire and retain great people.
Thank you.
Cool. I see no other questions. Anybody want to verbalize? Go ahead.
Sorry, Sid, I had one further question. We reach out to leaders like yourself every day, throughout the CIO, CISO level, CEO potentially. What really gets you interested in speaking with vendors? Obviously, you probably get, salespeople reach out to you on a daily basis. What attracts you to, I guess, give them the time of the day to have that conversation?
Yeah, thanks for that. Obviously, like, introductions are very important. Like, it's kind of social currency. So I always try to do double opt-ins in my life. So they find someone who's connected to me, that person forwards an email like, hey, I got this person, I think it's a good fit for these reasons, are you interested in an intro? And I say yes or no. If it's cold outreach, probably pretty hard to get to me. The more homework someone has done, the more likely that they'll get through. So be thoughtful in, first of all, the communication channels you use. Like, you can get an indication that I'm probably more active on Twitter than on LinkedIn. So probably my Twitter DMs are much better than sending another in-mail. The homework a person has done, like, hey, like, you got 2 sentences, why I should read the rest of your email. So, like, talk about something that is either happening at GitLab that's not super obvious, that's happening in my life that you might have read on Twitter, could create that connection that this is not a template email you just blast it to 500 people. Yeah, and then of course it's like the compelling offer, like, what am I struggling with that you can help with as a vendor. And I don't do a lot of vendor emails. I assume you ask because you need to reach people.
Correct.
You're a good psychologist, Sid.
Well, it's a tough problem. People are there's a lot of in-mails and everything else hitting people's inboxes. So I sympathize with the problem.
I think for me, it's helpful. Not, again, I'm making it about me and not to be selfish, but for the forum, we're all needing to be mindful of how we interact, because there's so much information, so many channels, and how do we get the attention of our customers? So learning from you, Sid, is helpful because you have so many people paying you, but such little time to service and prioritize, I guess. So it's interesting to offer that kind of information of doing our homework and making sure it's poignant and brief, because it's a reality that everyone faces. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else? Well, thank you for joining GitLab. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the call today. If I ever can help, don't hesitate to reach out, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Sid.